Today I'm discussing 5 signs of gaslighting. You didn't misunderstand and you are not crazy. Let's go. Hi friends, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Tamie M. Joyce. I'm the founder of Tamie M Coaching, and I'm an empowerment life coach helping people heal from painful family of origin and romantic relationship patterns so you can finally live your best life in peace, confidence, and freedom. I run a powerful 8-week transformational coaching program called the Freedom Class, specific to healing and recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse. If that's of interest to you, be sure to stick around till the end of the video and I'll tell you how you can learn more about my programs. So let's talk about 5 signs of gaslighting and why you can be sure you didn't misunderstand and you're not crazy. First of all, what is gaslighting? Well, simply put, gaslighting is when someone works to convince you that you're wrong, delusional, or you aren't remembering correctly. The message being sent is clear. Something's wrong with you, your perception, and your memory, when in reality, they know full well the issue isn't you. But quite deliberately, they're choosing to pretend that it is. So let's call it what it is. Gaslighters are liars, highly manipulative liars, who are lying to and about you. Moreover, it's a term that refers to mental and emotional abuse in a manipulative form. It typically involves the abuser presenting false information to their targets as well as their enabling entourage and other onlookers, often for no other reason than to ensure that they, the abuser, is seen and perceived in a better light than they otherwise would be. It also has the negative and detrimental effect of eroding the target's self-confidence and personal identity. The goal of gaslighting is to confuse and disorient the target in such a way that the perpetrator ultimately gains total control over not only their target, but also controls the generally accepted narrative. The more the perpetrator can sow the seeds of doubt in the target's mind, the easier it becomes for the perpetrator to control the target, the narrative, as well as the environment. And without question, control is the bottom line and ultimate goal when it comes to gaslighting. Controlling people, perceptions, the narrative, as well as outcomes. Now that you know what it is, let's dive into 5 signs of gaslighting. Number 1, invalidating you and your perception. Gaslighting is fundamentally about invalidating you, your perception of reality, and the truth of your experience, what you know you've lived. And here's the thing, you know what you live. Trusting yourself is a choice, a decision you can make. When someone tries to minimize or deny your reality, it's up to you to draw the line in the sand and say, oh, no, you don't. I know who I am. I know what I live. And assuming you're safe, call it out for what it is. You can say something as simple and straightforward as, I don't appreciate being gaslit. And if they feign innocence and have no ever-loving idea what you mean, tell them to Google it. Turn on your heel and leave. You've made your point. Nothing more to say. In fact, the less you say, the better. Sign number 2, mind games. If someone in your life is behaving in a way designed to deliberately upset you, deliberately manufacture and generate a highly emotional state in you, or they're attempting to cause you to feel uncomfortable by playing mind games with you, you're being gaslit. Another way to say it would be, you find yourself feeling highly emotional, triggered, or perhaps even regressing to a childhood state in the presence of someone who often invalidates and or plays head games with you. Those games can be passive and subtle, or domineering and more aggressive, not so subtle, as in the case with a toxic bully. Either way, if you think they're messing with your head, they probably are. So trust yourself and what your body is telling you. You'll know when you're being gaslit by how you feel more than what you think. So pay attention to how you feel around people you suspect aren't as decent and straight up as they'd like everyone else to believe. Number 3, feeling anxious and inappropriately apologetic. If you have anyone in your life whom you feel anxious around, or you find yourself feeling the need to always apologize, and especially if you tend to doubt, second guess, or question your own sanity in their presence, there's a really good chance you're being gaslit. Or, a better way to say it is, you notice that you often feel anxious and maybe even confused in a certain person or group of people's presence. You often find yourself in the process of over-explaining, defending, and again, apologizing, even when you know you've done nothing wrong. If this rings true for you, you guessed it, it's highly likely you're being gaslit. Now comment below and tell me whether or not you've experienced gaslighting emotional abuse. Let me know in the comments section below. And if that's the case, you're likely an excellent candidate for my 8-week transformational coaching program, the Freedom Class. If that's of interest to you, there's a link in the description below where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. Number 4, the "I was only joking" tactic. The not so funny joke is a classic gaslighting tactic. And here's how this one goes. The toxic individual says something mean, derogatory, or insulting. And when you have a legitimate feeling response to being targeted in this fashion, perhaps even decide to stand up for yourself or dare set the record straight, or better yet, give them no reaction or response at all, just let their BS fall flat, unfazed. Suddenly, you're the one who has the issue. You're the problem because it was just a joke. I mean, after all, don't you have a sense of humor? Please. As if you're supposed to simply roll over and laugh when someone is deliberately insulting or otherwise coming at you. Yeah, that's funny. In any relationship, putting someone down, saying something condescending or downright offensive and insulting, and then trying to make them look and feel bad because they're the problem and obviously overly sensitive and silly, by trying to cover up the toxic and mean-spirited insult with something childish like, "Gee, can't you take a joke?" That's not okay. It's toxic. And it says a whole lot more about the person doing the so-called joking than it does about you. Now, the problem with this tactic is, unless you're well-heeled and solid in your sense of self-worth and self-esteem, the person being gaslit this way can feel an immediate shame response, in particular, if they were gaslit in this fashion in early childhood by any toxic bully in a position of authority over them. When someone tries to pull this nonsense with you and insist that they were only joking, simply look them dead in the eyes and say an emotionless, "Oh," and not another word. Don't let them get away with projecting their toxicity onto you. It's not your stuff, it's theirs. So let them feel the full weight of their own dysfunction. As I often say, don't get any of that shit on you. And last but not least, sign number 5. They tell blatant lies. As I said at the beginning of the video, gaslighters are liars, lying to you and about you. And here's what that looks and feels like. Often, not always, but often enough, you and they both know what they're saying is a blatant lie. But they'll stand there, look you in the eye, and tell the lie with a straight face. And how can they be so blatant? Well, first of all, narcissists are fully willing and able to say whatever it takes in the moment to cover their own ass or get their way, no matter how untrue, cruel, or bizarre. But also, they're testing you, as well as setting a precedent. They want to know just how gullible you are, how easy to manipulate and control you're going to be. And once they tell a big lie, and moving forward you can't be sure if anything they say is true, this keeps you right where they want you, off balance, confused, and unsure, doubting and second-guessing yourself. And that's the agenda at play here. There's no denying that behaving in such a way is a cruel act of using psychological warfare tactics to invalidate, manipulate, confuse, and control you. It's without question a severe form of emotional and psychological abuse that can drive a target to ask whether the memories, thoughts, or experiences they've had are actually real. Abuse comes in many forms: being yelled at, hit, threatened, and coerced, or perpetually criticized, scolded, and rebuked are some classic examples of abuse. Withholding money and other important resources are also ways people can be abused. And clearly, these are the more obvious forms of emotional violence. But the problem is, these forms of abuse are relatively easy to spot and see for what they are. Gaslighting, on the other hand, is not. Targets are often so overwhelmed by the perpetrator's behavior and the feelings of self-doubt and confusion that comes as a result of the gaslighting they're experiencing that it can take a long time to realize what's happening and ultimately seek the necessary guidance and support. And here's the problem with that. The very real and detrimental consequences of long-term exposure to gaslighting may surprise you. When we have misplaced trust in untrustworthy, deceitful, manipulative, and toxic people who have anything but our best interest at heart, that misplaced trust will inevitably cause us to doubt, second guess, and question ourselves on every little thing. We find ourselves apologizing to the abuser, in this case, the gaslighter, for our so-called shortcomings, transgressions, and mistakes, when in reality, either the shortcomings are non-existent, complete fabrications made up to benefit the gaslighter, or they're actually a natural response to having been manipulated, exploited, or otherwise targeted and abused. And for some of us, that's been going on a long time, if not our entire lives. So, for example, we're criticized for the high anxiety and other PTSD symptoms that were actually brought on by the abuse itself. We're made to feel the issue is somehow always us, no matter what's gone on, what the history is, or what might be going on present day. And look, this isn't to say that we don't have shortcomings and character flaws that we need to work on. Of course we do. We all do. But when we're being gaslit by a toxic and highly manipulative abuser or a mob of abusers, as in the case of the family scapegoat within a sick family system, we're being blamed and shamed for things that aren't ours. And if that resonates with you and the truth of your experience, I'm here to tell you, you are not crazy. You've been manipulated, gaslit, and abused. There's a big difference. It's important to understand that as a result of being gaslit, we lose our self-esteem and sense of self, our personal identity, and sometimes even our sanity. But when you're armed with the right information and you can start to see what's actually happening, how you're being treated, messed with, you begin to realize, for reasons you may not fully understand, you've been complicit in your own abuse. In other words, you've allowed yourself to be conned, and usually by a band of lying bullies and cowards. And let me be clear, I don't say that to blame or shame you. You're not responsible for their highly manipulative and deceptive behavior. I say that so you can finally see and come to understand that you hold the reins of your life. You have the power. And believe it or not, if you've given your power away, you can take it back. It's time now. And with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. But don't stop now. I have well over 100 more videos right here on YouTube for you to watch to help you better understand the detrimental effects of narcissistic abuse, and more importantly, learn what you need to do to heal from the abuse so you can start living your best life in peace, confidence, and freedom. And if you want to go deeper with me, go to TamieMCoaching.com and learn about my unique, tried and true process garnered over decades of experience, and learn how you can become my client.